Good morning, everyone. Our position is one-child policy in China was a great success. In order to debate this topic, we would like to propose that great success means effectively reduce the population pressure in China. First, I want all of you to think about several questions. Why did the economic and social plan, known as the Great Leap Forward, result in 45 million deaths 50 years ago? And nowadays, why many non-profit making organizations like World Vision hold activity to encourage us to make donation in order to help the poor living in China? Have you seen such advertisements or TV program that capture their low living standard? Why? What is the reason behind? The main reason are the natural hazard and population pressure in China. Since the northern part of China, flooding along the Yellow River caused the death of crops. On the other hand, as southern part of China, drought along the Zhejiang result in the drought of farm products. The population's pressures even enhance the situation, the scarcity of food. That's why Chinese always was the poor. It's from the first circle. The only suggestion is what done to introduce the one-child policy and economic reform around the same time in order to help to reduce the birth rate and then to boost the economy. In order to support the population in China, eventually we need to consider it is a great success. At least nowadays, elder sister of Chinese family don't need to raise up their sibling at home and give up the opportunity to study at school. Lastly, I want to ask you a question. Under the social situation in China, how could you reduce the population pressure? That's beside adopting one-child policy. Thanks.
Towards the end, okay? Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Today's motion is that the House believes that the one-child policy is a great success in China. First, let me introduce what one-child policy is. It is initiated in 1939 and it stipulated that a couple was allowed to have one child. If that child turned out to be a girl, they were allowed to have a second child. After the second, they are not allowed to have any more. We know that the aim to have this policy is to stabilize the population growth. Yes, it can really prevent at least 250 million births since 1980. However, our group doesn't think that the one-child policy is a great success because according to the dictionary, success means that something achieves positive results. Unfortunately, the policy brings many side effects, ranging from social to children impact. Our second speaker, Noah, will tell you how the children are spoiled because of the policy, as well as the abortion problems. And for our third speaker here, she will then tell you more about how the policy caused the street children and the stolen children. And also the policy brings out the aging problem, and our last speaker will tell you how it affects the future. We can see that the one-child policy has led many drawbacks which makes harm to the country. Therefore, our group doesn't think that the one-child policy is a great success in China. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are talking about what is a great success, and we define a great success as one-child policy as a success as the efficiency that reduces the population pressure in China, and this policy really can minimize the pressure and pose it in our background. And secondly, you mentioned that abortion is a serious problem in China due to this policy. have you ever noticed that only 20% of our land in China are cities, and only cities that are cities population are included in the one-child policies? Yeah, you know, and then only the 20% population will have faced the problem of being forced to have abortion, while the population in the people in cities are actually very highly educated, and many of them are receiving tertiary education right now. And we firmly believe that the deep-rooted belief of traditional preference towards boys is actually very much minimized right now in this 21st century. So in the long run, we think that this phenomenon will not be a serious problem. And secondly, we see that only the minority and when both of the couple are the only child we will not face the problem of being forced to have abortion. So the one who are forced to have abortion is very, very few in China right now. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. We have 5 reasons why we do not support the one-child policy. The first one, China's one-child policy fosters spoiled children. Some parents may overcare their only child. The media refers to the indulged children in one-child families as little imperials. Since the 1990s, some people worry this will result in a higher tendency toward poor social communication and cooperation skill among the new generation, as they have no sibling at home. And the second thing is abortion, including infringing human rights and gender imbalance. The one-child policy has been criticized by human rights defending groups who consider it contrary to the human rights of the reproduction. And Chinese officers often force abortion on women against their will. This persists despite the fact that it has been banned by China's central government. And also, one-child policy will create a generation of men without women to marry. As the research, by 2020, there will be about 40 million Chinese men unable to marry because too few girls will have been born. Sociologists said this situation could trigger aggressive behavior among frustrated bachelors, including kidnapping and trafficking in women.
The first thing I want to emphasize is that with the policy of with the one-child policy, the population of China has successfully reduced 300 million, and it's so effective. And I can't think of other. I just wonder if there will be any other ways that can have this effect so successfully. And another one is that. Just like the opposite side has mentioned, the problem of overcaring of their only children. But I just wonder the logic behind, because this problem did not only exist in China, but also in other places, just like Hong Kong. But I can't find the connection between this and the one-child policy, because Hong Kong has never implemented this policy. And you also mentioned about the generation imbalance. Hong Kong also has this problem, the generation imbalance. But the China government did implement a ban on the the sex-selective abortion. And under this situation, actually the Chinese government has already done their very best to minimize the effects brought by this one-child policy, and I mean the generation imbalance. And you also mentioned that the policy will reduce or just eliminate the human rights to have baby, but in fact they didn't, because people are allowed to have the second baby, but not in China. That's why many of them come to Hong Kong. And I just want to prove that their rights have not been eliminated. And one point I need to add is that the development of China recently so rapidly is actually one of the secrets of the one-child policy, because the policy successfully solved the fundamental problem of population pressure, and that helps to solve the scarcity of food, so that people can satisfy at least with their basic needs, so that we can talk about the whole economic development of the whole society. Yes.
The affirmative side has been trying to emphasize the success is just about achieving its aims and efficiency. But according to our definition, success is not just about achieving its aim. It's about to consider we have also consider about the drawbacks as the entire issue in China. And the first speaker of the affirmative had emphasized the city has the problem of abortion is not serious, because there are many people are civilized, and they the cultural bias for boys is weakened. But that is problem, as the Travis has suggested. The so-called civilized people occupies only about 10% of the mainland China. In most areas, in rural areas, there are villages who are considered to be conservative, and they still under the influence of cultural preference for boys. So therefore, it's actually the problem remains, because they want to keep the boys instead of girls. And to clarify, in the one-child policy, although it's not as strict as in the city, but if in the village, if the first child given birth from the wife is a girl, they are allowed to have the second child, but that's the end of it. That means they can only have, if the second children of the family is a girl, they can only have they could not have any more babies. And so now I'll return to our arguments. Apart from the problem of the two emperor syndrome and forced abortion, the one-child policy do more harm than good to China by increasing the crime rate. One example of the crime is the human trafficking, where a number of children and females are kidnapped in the remote areas and taken to more affluent regions for trading. Chinese families' preference for sons and the growing gender imbalance increase the number of male children being trafficked for adoption and females kidnapped for forced marriages and commercial sexual exploitation. According to the Daily Mail News, there are up to 190 children abducted each day in China for selling. This crime has brought much suffering to the victims and their families, by which certainly cannot be seen as a success in China. Another problem will be the street children, which come from the abandonment of girls under the cultural preferences for boys. These children usually fall into the hands of the villains and become thieves and prostitutes, which destabilize the society. An unstable China cannot become a successful country, right? Therefore, as the crime rate, the one-child policy has led to the increasing crime rate, it is obvious that the disadvantages outweighs by the one-child policy outweighs the advantages. Therefore, we do not agree with the motion that the policy brings a great success to China.